Good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Welcome back down to my ever expanding library. And it's going to be expanded even more. So, haven't done a book haul since November. And that's kind of a start because I barely got any books in December. But I decided to add them in this video. So, I have books from authors, websites, Amazon, and Barnes & Noble. And a lot of these authors, I'm actually friends with on Facebook, so I'll have to give them a shout out when I show them my books. So, let's go ahead and get this thing started, shall we? First book I want to show off is from John Lynch. And I have already read this. This is Christmas Eve Carnage 2, Sprinkles Lives. And this literally picks up right after the events. And Cindy is the only survivor, but Sprinkles is not dead. This was a very, very fun novel, and it almost made my best of the year list. It improves on the original. There we go. So, that was Christmas Eve Carnage 2, Sprinkles Lives. And now, the two books that I want to show off is from Mr. Christopher Triano. First one, A Cold Place for Dying. And this is about a man who comes across like this mysterious girl, but is she on the run or is she playing him? This one sounded very good, and it's a Christmas set novel. And this is only 114 pages, so it should be a very easy read to get through. And I do believe that this is his debut novel. And a prized possession of mine is Pure Evil, and this collects 13 extremely graphic extreme horror short stories. And they are Hammer Time, Goddess of Gallows, Snowblind, The Deepest Fake, Pictures of a Princess, A Fable, Bloody Mattress Blues, The Bitch, The Feeding, Live Nude Horror, The Garden of Ethan, The Devouring, Dollhouse, and Dead End. This is probably one of the most expensive books that I have in my collection. And I actually did do an unboxing for all these packages. And I got that with that. So, pretty awesome stuff. Pure Evil by Christopher Triano. And moving on to my little Amazon stack. I'm actually going to show this one off first. The Sleep Experiment by Jeremy Bates. And this actually came off of my wish list because somebody from Books and Besties got it for my birthday, and I highly do appreciate that. So I know who she is, sort of, but thanks. But I'm going to read the back of this, if I can keep my voice. Experience the Nightmare. In 1954, at the start of the Cold War, the Soviet military offered 4 political prisoners their freedom if they participated in an experiment requiring them to remain awake for 14 days while under the influence of a powerful stimulant gas. The prisoners ultimately reverted to murder, self-mutilation, and madness. None survived. In 2018, Dr. Roy Wallace, whoa, an esteemed psychology professor at UC Berkeley, is attempting to recreate the same experiment during the summer break in a soon-to-be demolished building on campus. He and 2 student assistants share an 8-hour rotational schedule to observe their young Australian test subjects around the clock. What begins innocently enough, however, morphs into a nightmare beyond description that no one could have imagined, with perhaps the exception of Dr. Roy Wallace himself. So, basically, this retells the Russian sleep experiment. Very gnarly stuff. And it's almost kind of like a creepy pasta in a way. So I was definitely happy to see this. And thanks, Delilah Salcedo. So this runs up to 239. Moving on. Next is a book that I might consider reading next. Maggie's Grave by David Sodergren. Yes, I finally got this. I'm going to read the back. The small Scottish town of Augmundmolen is dead and has been for years. It sits in the shadow of a mountain, forgotten and atrophying in the perpetual gloom. 47 residents are all that remain. There's nothing to do there, nothing to see except for a solitary grave near the top of the mountain. Maggie Wall, buried here as a witch, reads the faded inscription. But sometimes the dead don't stay buried, especially when they have unfinished business. So I heard that this is a very, very gnarly book. And kind of like a slasher. So, very happy to have this. Maggie's Grave by David Sodergren. Next are 2 very sleazy 80s inspired novels. And when I tell you that they're sleazy, let's say they deal with TNA. So, the first one is R.J. Benetti's Horrors of the Shopping Mall Ass Slasher. Look how 80s inspired that is. So, this one definitely intrigued me. In the summer of 1987, Starbright Shopping Mall is the place to be until a mass killer with a bizarre fixation on butts turns it into a slaughtering ground. As the booty count rises, panic spreads faster than parachute pants on an ironing board. With a mix of laugh-out-loud humor and spine-chilling terror, this book will keep you on the edge of your seat, wondering, why did anyone write this, and is my butt truly safe? I was sold. So, R.J. Benetti, there you go, my guy. That. And that other one is Not Another 80s Horror Novel by Sean McDonough. And this was making its rounds on books of horror throughout last year. And this one sounds even more insane. Ruby King believed that the mood would be a good thing. She thought the quiet mountain town would be the perfect place to live with her husband, her children. Now, I'm going to say this on camera. And they're absolutely massive knockers. Yeah. But that was before she learned about the abandoned church in the woods. And before the evil supercomputer whirled to devilish life, and before she heard the sexual assault creatures prowling the night. Ruby knows better now. This is not a safe place. This is not a happy place. This is not another 80s horror novel. So don't those sound extremely sleazy and trashy? Yeah. So both of these are basically satires, I'm thinking. But it was true that Ass Slasher was loosely based on true events. So throughout the year, I'm definitely going to make a trashy 80s horror vlog. So I'll definitely read these throughout the year. So that's that. And moving on. The final two from Amazon I got. The Night Silver River Ran Red. The Night Silver River Run Red. Same frickin' thing. By Christine Morgan. And some things, according to Cody McCall, are worth risking a whipping, such as sneaking out with your friends after dark for a peek at the traveling show setting up just outside of town. Oddities the signs promise. Marvels, grotesqueries, exotic attractions, and mysterious magics. Worth risking a whipping, sure. Worth risking life and limb, and maybe more. Worth risking being ripped to pieces by ravenous inhuman brutes. Worth crossing paths with those strange silent cult folk from the High Valley. Worth all the fire and bloodshed and horror and death, because something far worse than any ordinary traveling show has come to town. And one thing is for certain, those who survive, if any, will never forget the night Silver River Run Red. So this one sounded very intriguing. And this runs to 210. And it's another book into this collection of the splatter westerns. And I'm only missing, I want to say, 7 or 10. Some books came out recently, so obviously I didn't get those yet. But I was going to get another one, but it was out of stock. But I got this one instead. The Night Silver River Run Red. Rest Stop by Nat Cassidy. And I don't know anything about this book, but I heard that it's extremely weird. And this is only like 124 pages. So I think this is about a guy who stops at a rest stop and he's like terrorized by some weirdo. That's all I can tell you. So that was that. And the last three are from Barnes & Noble. I'm going to have to moving on. It's probably a very popular book that released this month. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. And I'm going to read the flap. There's no power in a book. They call them wayward girls, loose girls, girls who grew up too fast, and they're sent to the Wellwood House in St. Augustine, Florida, where unwed mothers are hidden by their families to have their babies in secret, to give them up for adoption, and most important of all, to forget ever happened. 15-year-old Fern arrives at the home in the sweltering summer of 1970, pregnant, frightened, and alone. Under the watchful eye of the stern Miss Wellwood, she meets a dozen other girls in the same predicament. There's Rose, a hippie who insists she's going to find a way to keep her baby and escape to a commune, and Xenia, a budding musician who plans to marry her baby's father. and Holly, a wisp of a girl, barely 14, mute and pregnant, and by no one knows who. Everything the girls eat, every moment of their waking day, and everything they're allowed to talk about is strictly controlled by the adults who claim they know what's best for them. Then Fern meets a librarian who gives her an occult book about witchcraft, and power is in the hands of the girls for the first time in their lives. But power can destroy as easily as it creates, and it's never given freely. There's always a price to be paid, and it's usually paid in blood. So, my goal is to read at least one Grady Hendrix book this year. I don't know if it's going to be this one, but it's down here. And I don't know how I feel about witches or any of that, but I'll give it a try. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. Next is Clay McLeod Chapman's new book, Wake Up and Open Your Eyes. So this one sounded very interesting. Noah Fairchild has been losing his formerly polite Southern parents to far-right cable news for years. So when his mother leaves him a voicemail warning him that the Great Reawakening is here, he assumes it's related to one of the many conspiracy theories she believes in. But when his own phone calls go unanswered, Noah makes the long drive from his home in Brooklyn to Richmond, Virginia. There he discovers his childhood home in shambles, a fridge full of spoiled food, and his parents locked in a terrifying trance-like state in front of the TV. Panicked, Noah attempts to snap them out of it and get medical help. Then Noah's mother brutally attacks him. But Noah isn't the only person to be attacked by a loved one. Families across the country are tearing each other apart, literally, as people succumb to a form of possession that gets worse the more time they spend glued to cable news or falling down internet rabbit holes. In Noah's Richmond-based family, only he and his young nephew Marcus are unaffected. Together, they must race back to the safe haven of Brooklyn, but they can make it before they fall. But can they make it before they fall prey to the violent hordes? This ambitious, searing novel from one of horror's modern masters holds a mirror to our divided nation and will shake readers to the core. So, think of The Purge, but add possession to the mix. This one sounds incredible. And last, but certainly not least, Memorials by Richard Chizmar. And I've had my eye on this book for a few months now. It's actually an older book, so this is basically about a documentary film crew that comes across a stretch of road where a lot of deaths have happened. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I can tell you. But it sounds very good, and can't wait to read it. But that is Memorials by Richard Chizmar. And that's everything that I got in December and January. Obviously a lot more in January because I wasn't a hermit in January. Amazon taught me that. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this book haul. And tomorrow I'm going to film my February TBR. There we go. And I'll also film my Flight Risk movie review tonight. So I have some videos coming out pretty soon. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. But if you like this sort of content, like, comment, subscribe, and check out some more videos around here. I'll probably link my book hauls playlist and my most recent upload. All right, guys, take care. Adios. Peace.